like to thank HCAM for being here and filming this wonderful presentation that we're going to have by our guest speaker, Jeff Doherty of Angel's Garden. We'd like to welcome Jeff. He will be talking to us today about container gardening. Angel's Hilltop Gardens was started in 1957 by Angel and Paul Doherty as a small roadside stand selling pansies. And Jeff is now, he's their son, and he is now the operating manager. They have over 30 acres with 7 greenhouses. Besides the plants and trees for purchase, you can also buy bark mulch and firewood for delivery. Jeff is a Massachusetts certified horticulturist. He obtained his degree in business from Bentley College. He's a member of the Mass Nursery and Landscape Association and the Massachusetts Flower Growers Association, and has served as their president for the past 3 years. Angels has been a grower and retailer of Proven Winners, the #1 plant brand in the country, and he will include the latest in his talk today. And we also have beautiful examples of the Proven Winners that we can purchase at the end of the program. So thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you very much. It's so nice to be able to come out today on a day that's sunny and we have some hope of spring coming forward after what we've gone through. It seems like we go from cold and then they give us a little edge and then it goes back to cold or snow. So welcome. It's so nice to be here to be able to present to you Proven Winners. I've been a Proven Winners grower and retailer for, I want to say, the past 20 years. In the greenhouse, we've done everything from starting seeds, starting plugs, growing all of these things from tiny little seedlings into beautiful plants. The nice thing about Proven Winners is that everything is researched and tested before they even bring a variety to market. Everything has been proven so that it's the best of the best in that category. So it's really nice to have Proven Winners as a supporter, and basically they're the big guns in the country in terms of all the different plant varieties that are coming on the market. I mean, back in the day when I was a little kid and my parents were starting this business, it was basically pansies in the spring, geraniums at Memorial Day, and when it came time that Memorial Day was done, business was done for the year. Once you got your garden planted, it was all over. July and August were for going on vacation, enjoying, and maybe watering something in a vegetable garden. But now we have this entire year-long process where we gauge plants, we start them, we bring them through different stages so that they get to the point where they are beautiful plants in our yard. And you can even bring stuff in the house now and winter them over. So that's a real plus. Proven Winners every year comes out with new varieties. And if I have this working correctly, I'm going to be able to show you each one. So all of you know Argyratum, or floss flower is the common name. But this new variety in white is different. There are varieties of Argyratum that are cutting varieties, but this particular one is compact and is going to be a real nice filler in your combination pots. Angelonia has come on the market in the past 4 or 5 years, mostly in blues and lavender, but this white variety is a new one because it's called Cascading Snow. So this is something that's going to trail a little bit and hang. It's also called, common name is Summer Snapdragon, but all of us know it as Angelonia in the business. Super Bells. So Super Bells are the mini petunias, and the latest thing now is the double minis. This particular one, Double Twilight, is real pretty because it has that two-tone color to it. And it comes in the category of Calibrachoa, which is the mini petunia. And most of you know it from seeing it in hanging baskets because they trail out and hang over. Califerous, Texas primrose. So another small flower, but you may know primrose from a perennial that would come back in your garden every single year. That yellow, nice size flower, real pretty, almost has like broader leaf than this and burgundy foliage, especially when it's a little bit cooler. Ladybird lemonade. So just a different color in the same category. But it's kind of pretty because it has that feathery texture in the foliage. Evolvulus. In this particular variety, blew my mind, is really amazing because most of the old Evolvulus was kind of like this long, trailing, grayish type foliage. This particular one is more compact, has a lot of flowers to it, loves the sun, loves the heat, blooms all summer long, and keeps coming back. And if you notice the height on it, only 4 to 8 inches, so real compact, very nice. The big thing this year, and especially because of Ukraine, because that's their national flower, is sunflowers. This particular one, Suncredible, is also another variety that they worked on for years to get it so that it blooms really well, the foliage is nice on it. We think of sunflowers more as a late summer item and into fall. So this is something that's going to get some height to it, 24 to 36 inches. Just a real nice power pack of flowers. Not real big flower, but a lot of flowers on the same plant. Augusta lavender, or heliotrope. So heliotrope we know is that grape-smelling, purple flower that likes the shade. So this guy is a new variety in lavender that's real pretty, and it's a little twist off that dark grape purple color. James Britannia, or African phlox. Smaller type flower, very similar to the ground phlox that we all know in spring, that has that smaller flower to it. Safari Sky is just loaded with blooms. Notice the height on that also, about 6 to 12 inches. I think if you probably had it in partial sun, you're probably going to get that height of the 12 as opposed to the 6. Full sun is going to give you that lower, and a lot of nice spread to it. 1 foot to 2 feet of spread, which is kind of what you get with ground phlox. Each year it kind of doubles in size. Another color on that, Dawn, Safari Dawn, real pretty because it has that yellow center to it. Lantana. So all of the new lantanas, I mean, it used to be that you could only get a lantana to bloom sporadically, and you had to have full sun, it had to be dry. The nice thing that Proven Winners has done is they've developed these varieties so that you don't have to have those perfect conditions. You can have partial shade. But lantana is one of those things that really does like the sun, it likes the heat, and it's a great performer, both in a hanging basket, in window boxes, or if you just had a pot that's on the doorstep that you're going to combine things with. It's a nice filler. Lobelia, sky blue improved. So what they've done is they've improved these varieties so that you get a lot more flowering to it and that it doesn't peter out halfway through the season. it continues to bloom all summer long. Really nice spread to it, and it will trail out as some of the trailing lobelias do, but most of them are fillers or upright. Lobularia. So lobularia is an offshoot of regular sweet alyssum. Has that sweet smell to it, but lobularia was designed so that it would trail out of a basket. And these new ones are pretty because they keep adding these colors to them. So you kind of get that two-tone violet and purple in there, which is real nice. Pelargonium or geranium, this boldly hot pink improved. Not that big, full red flower that you're used to on a geranium, a little bit more sporadic, but a nice bloomer that keeps going all summer. And in white. It says coral. My screen is showing a little darker than that, so I think the screen's just a little bit different on this, but coral is real pretty in that. Supertunia. So a little bit bigger than your mini petunia or the Calibrachoa superbells. Supertunia Priscilla is real nice because it's that double flower and will trail out. They use it a lot in hanging baskets. You can use it in a window box. A real nice addition to the Supertunia line. Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. So the first one that came out was Vista Bubblegum, and that's that pink that you see. Harvey's in Westboro does a beautiful display of it. If you ever go through Westboro, go down South Street, which heads into the center of town where the Rotary is. But they do their entire white fence with Vista bubble gum. I've done it in my gutter on the roof at Angels. We did that about 3 or 4 years ago, but we keep changing it because Proven Winners has a national combo, so they come up with a different coloration. I think a couple years ago we did a lavender or a violet theme. I think I'm going to go back to Vista Bubblegum or maybe this Jazzberry because they've improved it so much and that it just flows out. Rain does not bother this. If you get a heavy rain, you know how it hits the petunia flower and then it's done and you got a deadhead? The nice thing about Proven Winners is that when the rain hits it, it comes back to life. And you don't have to go in and do a lot of deadheading. It's a sterile plant, so it doesn't produce a seed pod. And that's the beauty behind the Vistas. Really makes a nice impact. Salvia, so the newest thing like 3 or 4 years ago that they came out with are these taller, almost like a cutting variety salvia. Real pretty blooms, full flowering all through the top part of the stem. So you get all these florets on that spire. Coleus has become such a huge thing. I mean, it used to be that there were 3 or 4 varieties of Coleus. Now, there's probably 100, over 100. This dark Newly Noir is really pretty because you get to combine it, you get it to contrast with different colors in your combination pots. El Brighto. And this picture doesn't do it really any justice because the colors are so intense in this Coleus and it has that ruffled leaf to it that's all crinkled on the edge. Really, really pretty. Thunbergia or Black-Eyed Susan. They've come out with all the different colors. Orange was the traditional one, but now lemon and a primrose and now white with coconut appeal. Really pretty. And a pretty aggressive vine, but not like the old-fashioned ones. This will actually fill in as opposed to, you know, just going one straight stem up. Verbena, all kinds of new colors in verbena. Real pretty, nice and full. This would be a pollinator plant. Bees will love this because of the pollen on it. Cake Pops Pink, another color on that. Superbena. So all their Superbenas at Proven Winners are really nice because the colors they've come up with and the impact that they make with the flowering is really pretty. Calla lilies. So about 2 or 3 years ago, calla lilies kind of came back into the market. Kind of a tough plant back then to take care of, to propagate. Watering had to be just right. Now they have these improved to the point where you can get numerous flowers on one plant. Used to be that if you got one flower on a calla lily, you were like, hooray! But these new ones, nice and compact, a lot of flowers, the spotted foliage, really pretty. And that's it for all the new introductions this year for Proven Winners. They do a great job both in annuals, perennials, and now their color choice shrub line is amazing. The hydrangeas, there's probably 15 or 20 hydrangea varieties that are new, and the colors, the size of the flower, everything is so pretty. They've really done a great job introducing all these new varieties of hydrangeas. So with that, unless you have some questions with slides, I'm going to work my way behind the table and do my container gardening pot. So now I want to show you what I do in terms of container gardening. We're a little bit limited in terms of plant material this time of year. Like I would love to do a container garden or a combination pot that you can put on your doorstep and do it all with Proven Winners. But they're not available. I don't start them early enough, and even some of the growers that I buy from, they're starting to show a little color, but they're not filling out the pot. So it would be difficult for me to show you something that's going to really make an impact. But we're in the week of St. Patrick's Day. We're like a month away from Easter, and I thought it would be a great idea to put something together with spring bulbs. And at least I have some of that stuff that's been forced and starting to show color. So something that's really pretty, and when we're all done, you can take this, put it outside, put it on your doorstep, put it on your deck, and it's going to be okay at night unless we get something that's below 25. Because bulbs know better than we do, just like bees know when to come out, bulbs know it's okay to be outside, it's not going to be too cold. So what I like to do in terms of our combination pot is there's 3 components to every combination pot. And it's the thriller, or your middle section, something that's going to have height, something that's going to be like the impact, that's going to be the draw to it. You're going to have fillers that are going to go around that, and spillers. So necessarily not any spillers today, except maybe the muscari or the grape hyacinth, but at least it's going to give us that different texture, different colors that you can put in to make your pot really pretty, and it's going to have different textures on the leaves, different colors that are really going to make it pop. So what we'll do is we'll start with daffodils, and this particular variety, Ice Follies, is pretty because your daffodils have the height to them. So we're going to center that right in the middle of the pot, and that's going to give us a little impact with color. We'll also use some mini daffodils because we love that yellow color. Yellow is so attractive in these pots. And then I think we're going to use some muscari or grape hyacinth to work around that, because no matter what you do, whether it be a proven winter pot, whether it be some type of interior scape, anything blue next to yellow, I think, looks awesome. It really brings out the two colors. We have some nice white. We're going to take these tulips and we're going to put these. I wish I had pink or red, but nothing was in color yet. So I'm going to do these white a little bit more towards the back, because we can fix some other color in front of that. The white hyacinths, I'll get and put them next to those little mini daffodils. And I just kind of fill in soil around them, because when we get all done, we're going to water it in. And I think we'll get another mini daff and put that in on the other side of that grape hyacinth. If I had some flowering crocus, that would be a good spot for that. And actually, I'm going to leave a little space, because what I want to do is I have some pansies. And I could also use the violas, because they're really pretty, but I want to get some different colors in here. So that burgundy pansy, that guy will fit in there. We'll get that darker blue, and we'll fix that right in between that grape hyacinth and the daffodil. And like I say, you can never have enough yellow. So I got one of those yellow pansies that I can fit in there. And whenever I work on one of these, I take an old Lazy Susan. I can't tell you how old this is. My mother probably had this in the kitchen at one time, and it made its way out to the greenhouse. But it's just so nice to be able to spin this, because then otherwise you're walking around the table, you're saying, oh God, what am I going to put there? So it's so easy when you can spin it. We do that when we do Christmas arrangements, when we do our winter pots. We have a Lazy Susan. You get that, your main greens in the middle, and then you work around it, and you can put cones in, but it's just so nice to be able to maneuver that. Let's take and put another burgundy in here.
Jeff, you don't break up the roots
On these, I don't want to mess with it, because whenever I sell one of these, I always say to somebody, if you're questioning whether the plant's healthy or not, pull it out of the pot. If you have white roots, you got the healthiest plant. If you see brown, it may have been overwatered, but I'm guessing there's a problem. So I try not to do anything, that involves that. And some things will have like a tannish root to it, but when you have white roots, I don't want to break that up too much, because in another month, I'm going to be pulling some of this stuff out. I'm going to cut it back, and I'm going to plant it in my garden. because all of these things are going to come back next year except the pansies. And so let's take that last pansy that we have, poke it in there. Now we have a pot that can be seen all around. You can put it on your doorstep. You can put it in between the garage doors. And that is going to be your spring bulb pot. And it is just, it's such a nice thing to be able to come home. You see that? I always say, put it at your back door. Don't put it out on the front steps, because where do you go and come from the garage to your house when you're bringing groceries in, whenever you're doing anything? You're not going in the front door. You're going in the back door, and it's for you. You know, if you want to do something for the front step, great. That's all right. But do something for yourself. And the other pot that I like to do for the back steps or on your deck that goes out in the back is a herb pot, so that you can go outside and you can take the scissors, you can trim a little bit of herb off so that you're going to use in whatever you're cooking. If you're making a salad, you want to take some parsley or basil, you know, something like that. So I always like to have a complete herb pot, because not all of us have big gardens anymore. That's what container gardening, that's why it's become so popular, because you can have pots of stuff on your deck, on your patio, in the backyard, and you can easily water it. The garden doesn't get away from you, it doesn't get all weedy, and you can manage a pot. So that's the nice thing about that. So back to my basics on doing a container garden with the ideas that Proven Winners has put forth with your thriller, your fillers, and a spiller if you had something trailing. That's what you look for. Now, some people like to stick with a color theme. That's okay, but I'm kind of on the other school that says, put the colors, all different colors in there, because it really makes everything stand out. You get contrast with everything. I mean, you could do a lavender-based pot. There's nothing wrong with that. But I really like having those different colors play off of one another. Really pretty. And then I water that all in. Any questions?
Yeah, it's cherry.
Do you have to fill in with loose dirt now just to...
Yes. I made that one so tight. In a lot of cases when I build these, I'll leave a little bit of room, but I made this tight so that it would be filled in right away. It would make an impact. But yeah, you would fill in with loose soil and then water in. Yep.
Did you have like rocks or anything in the bottom of that?
I didn't. I did all soil. Now you may have one of these at home. You may have a pot that still has Christmas greens in it. Get it out in the sun, put it somewhere where the sun's gonna thaw that out, so that you don't have to take boiling water and pull those stupid greens out that are all brown now. But really important, if you haven't changed the soil in a couple of years, change it. Dig it out. I mean, if it's a real big pot, yeah, you can put some rocks in the bottom, or you can put those styrofoam peanuts, like packing material. You can put cardboard. You can take a pot like this, a bigger one, and put it right in the middle and build around that, just so you're not using a bunch of soil. That's okay.
I do it more for the weight.
Yes.
Exactly. This is heavy, especially after you water it. And who's going to pick that up? You know. So we carry Proven Winners soil, but we also carry the Coast of Maine line of soils. We've carried them for probably 15 years, and they just do such a great job. They have all the components of peat moss, bark, perlite, which is like a loosening agent, I recommend strongly that you don't use garden soil or dirt. I recommend using a lightweight potting soil. And there's a couple of different ones out now that are compost-based, which is okay. If you have a compost bin and you're turning it and you're making your own compost, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Proven Winners also has a line of fertilizer. So like on the super petunias, the super bells, all of those mini petunias, those are what we call heavy feeders. They want to be fed every third to fourth watering. So if you're watering, 2 or 3 times in a week, or you're watering 5 times in a week, that fourth watering should be with something with fertilizer. And basically what it is, it's a tablespoon of fertilizer to a gallon of water. You cannot over-fertilize if you're going by the directions. And that's why they say every third to fourth watering. We have an injector in our hose, and we're fertilizing every day because we want them to be perfect when you get them. And then we do clear water once a week. On your house plants, anything that you have indoors, I brought a sample of some foliage plants and this beautiful indoor garden. All kinds of different colors and textures. This is a type of Dracaena, peperomia, croton, a basic ivy, another type of croton in here. So different colors, different textures, all combined together, but they play off one another beautifully. And in the wintertime, when we have less sunlight, and the house is kind of warm and dry, you can spritz with a little sprayer. But my trick in the wintertime is when you rinse out your milk jug, don't pour it down the sink. Use it to water this guy, because that's liquid nitrogen. Anything milk-based, anything that you, like vegetables you boil, don't pour the water down the sink. That's got vitamins in it. Use that, save one of those big gallon milk jugs as your watering tool for your indoor plants. You could use almond milk, yeah. Oat milk, almond milk, those are all the new ones. They're so popular, and at our cafe, it's become the big thing. Everyone wants almond or oat milk. Ask Cindy, she's our barista in the cafe.
Oh, yes.
Pasta water, absolutely. Yeah, it's all good. But I just like to encourage people to use, not to dump it down the sink, because it's just going into the septic, or, use it on the plants because the plants are going to benefit from it. It's just a great tip.
So you were saying use it indoors, so in the summer you could just use it outdoors.
Absolutely. But in the summertime, you're going to want to start feeding with you can use, most fertilizers are chemical fertilizers. There's 3 numbers on the container, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. And nitrogen is what all the lawn companies use. If you have a lawn service come in and they're spraying your lawn, most of it's nitrogen. It's not doing anything for the structure of the grass or the roots. It makes your lawn green, but other than that, it's not too much. So better to use like a compost on your lawn, a thin layer of compost. That's better because it helps build that structure of the roots and the grass blade.
What's the mix of the ingredients on fertilizer that you recommend?
Well, on this particular one, it's 24, 12, 17. So there's a higher percentage of nitrogen in here. The phosphorus is a little bit lower, but that's okay because what they've done is the super bells, the super petunias, all of those trailing petunias that you're feeding, in whether it be a hanging basket or a window box, they require a higher amount of nitrogen and phosphorus. And this stuff is great because it's good as a heavy feeder. And there's different formulations, like if you'll find, whether you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or any of the stores, you're going to see ones for African violets. You're going to see one for foliage plants. They even make them for tomatoes and vegetables. Different formulations. So that's a pretty indoor foliage planter. You have your spring planter, and say, when the flowers go by after Easter, pull them out, plant them in the ground, and then start your summer pot. And Proven Winners has also gone to the point where they've developed what's called a flower pack or a pillow, and it has a combination of 3 or 4 different plants in it, and you put these little pillows into your own combination pot and let them grow out that way. So they've started everything for you. You don't have to go and buy 3 of these, 3 of that, 3 of the other one to make your combination. So they're really staying ahead of, this whole market, which is really nice. Yes?
If you're planting in the soil outside, and you see those white roots, should you score then? Why should you put them in?
Good idea to score, especially if you're planting a perennial that's been in that pot or color choice shrub. If you can even get it out of the pot, sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes you have to cut the pot off. So actually take a knife and score. Or rub it back and forth just to loosen that all up, because a lot of times those roots have wound themselves around and it's harder for them to get out into the soil that way. So by loosening them up and making sure that the hole that you've dug for your perennial or your shrub has good loose soil at the bottom, now the roots have somewhere to go and your success is going to be much better that way.
As far as fertilization, even if it's annuals that you're putting in, as a border, should you still do that fertilization, say, every 4th,
So that's a good question. So in the ground, depending on what your soil's like, I always like to top dress with a little bit of compost. They have all these new mixes now that have compost. And if you're digging into the soil and you're loosening up that hole, actually take a handful of compost or some good potting soil that has a fertilizer charge to it. A lot of the soil companies now are making potting soil that has fertilizer built into it. Yeah, it's slow release pellets, and that's what this is. This is nice because this has a slow release pellet. That pellet is formulated to release fertilizer when it's wet and when the heat temperature gets up above 70. So we even take this mid-season, like somewhere after 4th of July when we haven't fertilized in a week, and we put this over the top of the soil, and every time we water, it's releasing a little bit out because we know the temperature's above 70 and we know that when we water, it's going to do a little bit of release. The nice thing about slow release fertilizer, it has micronutrients in it. So it's got more than what that nitrogen, phosphorus, potash has in it. It has all those micronutrients. So that's the trick behind the new slow release stuff. That's really good.
Good. Do you use the same fertilizer for indoor and outdoor plants?
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't use this or this during the winter, just because we don't have those daylight hours, we don't have sun. Sometimes we have our plants in our north-facing windows. So it's all based on, where it's going to be in the house. And so we back off on the fertilizer. The other tip that I would give you is that if you've carried over something like a geranium. So in the old days, our grandparents, my grandmothers, both, would take their old geranium pots, stick them in the basement, bring them back up, because we were frugal back then, and we couldn't afford to go out and buy new ones every year. So they would take that geranium, put it down in the basement, barely water the thing, that you could keep it dry down there, bring it back up in the spring, start fertilizing it, but also cut it back. You'd be surprised what happens when you prune something or cut it back. You get all these new breaks of growth, which is just, it does the plant so much better. It's like getting a haircut. It's so good for the plant. Any other questions? Well, this has been awesome. Thank you very much, ladies.